hope that everyone is keeping as safe and as well as they can at these very trying times. We will continue to help everyone we possibly can, and this video is designed to help you understand the impact of the Coronavirus Scotland Act 2020, which came into force on 7th April 2020. Firstly, you'll hear me say the Act, and when I do, I mean the Coronavirus Scotland Act 2020. The following is just a very general run through on the aspects of the Act and who, in my opinion, it is likely to affect. The Act itself is a significant one, which makes broad-reaching changes in these very difficult times. Its provisions are due to be in force until the end of September 2020. But the Act does allow for this period to be shortened or even extended. The Act is separated into several different sections. The Act itself is very short, but it is supplemented by some very in-depth schedules, which have a lot of detailed provisions. So I'll run you very briefly through some of the most important changes that the Act makes. They are: the first change is about eviction from property. This is going to mostly affect landlords, tenants and letting agents. Broadly speaking, what it does is affects the notice periods in order to bring a tenancy to its end, and in particular lengthens those notice periods beyond those we are accustomed to. We will very shortly be releasing a separate video going into that one in a little more depth. Go to our YouTube channel for that video. The details are below. However, the main provisions for this are in Section 2 and Schedule 1 of the Act. The next change is about protecting debtors, that is, those people who owe money to someone else. If you are a debtor and have found yourself bankrupt or on the verge of bankruptcy, then the Act has an effect on you because it gives an extension of certain time periods that applied to you before coronavirus, meaning you have longer to make payment. Consequently, creditors, that is, those who are owed the money, may have to wait longer to get the funds, and so this section will affect you also. The main provisions for this are in Section 3 and Schedule 2 of the Act. The next significant section of the Act is all about children and vulnerable adults, and will affect anyone involved in the children's hearing system or who is involved with an adult suffering from an incapacity, for example, dementia or Alzheimer's. The part about children is all about separate pieces of legislation relating to children. It is clear from the schedule in the Act that the government is keen, as we would all want, to continue protecting children through the system, but acknowledge that it might not always be possible for certain types of court hearings, known as children's hearings, to take place face to face. So what the Act does is allow certain modifications to those hearings to allow those hearings to take place and make sure that children are continued to be protected, which of course is vital. Next, the Act also extends timeframes for applications relating to vulnerable adults, and in particular adults suffering from an incapacity, similar to those which I mentioned before. So for example, if you have an elderly relative in a care home and you have made an application for guardianship which is ongoing, then certain time periods have been extended, but also if you have an existing guardianship order, then time is suspended whilst the Act is in force, meaning it cannot expire or run out whilst the Act is in force. The main provisions for this are in Section 4 and Schedule 3 of the Act. The Act then looks at the justice system and will affect anyone who has interaction with the court system. There are significant changes made in the Act, including an allowance of the electronic submission and signature of documents, which was not in place before, but also the suspension of the necessity to attend in person for certain types of hearings, as well as provisions to, as far as possible, ensure that where possible, the criminal courts can continue to operate as best they possibly can in these most trying of circumstances. The main provisions for this are in Section 5 and Schedule 4 of the Act. The next main changes in the Act relate to alcohol licensing, and it's applicable to those that were due to attend licensing tribunals, and it is also applicable to those who are running licensed premises. The main provisions for this are in Section 6 and Schedule 5 of the Act. The final main change made in the Act relates to public bodies, meaning it potentially affects anyone who requires to have interaction with public bodies, for example the councils. The changes made are temporary modifications to certain of the functions of public bodies in order that they can work through these very difficult times that we're going through just now. The main provisions for this are in Section 7 and Schedule 6 of the Act. However, if you'd like to have more of a detailed look at the Act, then you can find the full text online by simply going onto any internet browser and type in Coronavirus Scotland Act 2020. The website that we tend to use all the time is the legislation website, which you'll see below. This video is intended to give a whistle-stop guide only. If you'd like more detailed information on how this affects you, or on any other legal matter right now, we are trying to make it as easy and as convenient for everyone to do so. So, if you need guidance or advice on any aspect of the Coronavirus Scotland Act, or indeed any other area of law, then please contact us on the telephone number or email below. However, we think we need to go further. So to make it as easy as possible for you to book time which suits you to speak to our solicitors, be it on the phone or via Zoom or Skype or Teams, whichever works best for you, please go to the link below, which will help you meet with one of our lawyers at a time which suits you. Keep safe and keep well. Many thanks for listening.